Telling your story includes all the people around us who share the same dreams and goals but face different challenges moving forward. We hope you come away from each show inspired. Keep watching for this episode of Telling Your Story with Terrel and Nick, coming up next. Hello, and welcome to Telling Your Story with Terrel and Nick. We're so glad you tuned in to watch. I'm Nick.
I'm Terrel.
And we are your co-hosts. We are super excited to share all about Special Olympics Maryland because...
We all...
Yes.
Oh, Special Olympics Maryland.
Special Olympics Maryland. Who's in the house? Woo-hoo! Who's in the house today?
Jason right there. Jason right there. And then is Adam right there. They can raise their hand if they want to, but they don't have to.
Welcome. Yes, we have Jason Schrimmel, who is the VP for Athlete Leadership for Special Olympics Maryland. And we have athlete extraordinaire, Adam, joining us today. Welcome, guys. Thank you.
Yes, welcome.
So, Jason, can you share with us, where did your story begin?
My story began, I guess, up in Canada, so in Ottawa, when my wife was going to school. I volunteered for Special Olympics. It wasn't very altruistic. They, if you volunteered for a season, they would give you a free coaching certification at a national level. So, but after the first season, I wasn't worried about the certification anymore because I just immediately fell in love with Special Olympics. So, volunteered for about 6 years up there. Then we moved to Maryland to follow my wife, and found out that you could actually work for Special Olympics. That there's employment opportunities, and so being able to combine like a passion for sports with one of the things I love the most, working in the field of with people with intellectual disabilities, I thought it was kind of that cross section of opportunity that I couldn't pass up.
That's wonderful. It's great that you were able to combine two things that you were really passionate about.
Yeah, absolutely. I love sports. I love everything that they represent and they can teach. But I think at times we've heard enough really kind of bad stories about sports.
Yes.
And Special Olympics offers just the opposite. It's everything. It's sport in its purest form, and why people are involved in sports, and the skills and traits they get out of being part of a team or a sport.
That's wonderful. Thank you for that. And Adam, can you share with us, where did your story begin?
Sure. So my story began, I joined Special Olympics when I was 11, and it through a friend in my middle school class, and his mother said, "Why don't you come out and see what Special Olympics soccer is like, because a lot of your friends from class are in that too." So I came out, and that's where the Bigfoot came into play. One of my many nicknames, Bigfoot, Intimidator. It keeps going, but now I compete in 5 sports throughout the year. So.
Yep. Do you always know how you want to work with Special Olympics ID? You all can answer it together, but separately.
Thank you, Terrel. Well, you know, that's how we roll here on the show.
Yeah, that's true.
I guess I'll answer if that's all right for myself.
Go
I
ahead,
can't
go
answer for you, right? I didn't know. I didn't have a family member who belonged to Special Olympics or had an intellectual disability or developmental disability.
Right.
I just knew I loved sports. I loved playing it, and then having met athletes the first season that my wife and I got to run a soccer team, it just changed everything. It was an opportunity to give back, but and the kind of one of the oldest sayings in Special Olympics is that you receive kind of 10 times what you give,
yeah,
and it's so true. So
Right.
when we did that for a number of years, I thought once I moved down to the U.S. from Canada, I thought and found out you could have a job for it. I thought this is really kind of meant to be, and I need to jump on this opportunity. So
That's wonderful.
I'm glad he did that.
Yeah, I bet you are.
Yeah,
21 years later, here we are.
And now, Adam, you said you compete in 5 sports. Can you
Right.
break down those sports? And didn't I once read that you ride about 1,500 miles a
Wow.
year on your bike?
He-
Is that
he-
right?
He's joking, right?
No, he must be. Are you joking?
Nope, that's basically 4.5 times across the U.S.
Wow.
Wow, that's amazing.
So you've got cycling, and then you're a soccer player.
Yep.
What else? What other sports are you doing?
Cycling, soccer, basketball, alpine skiing, and swimming. And I train in tennis.
Wow. And so basically, you're competing and practicing and working on these sports all year?
All year long. The only time I'm
Wow.
not doing it is in summer,
In the
Well, I'm just-
summertime, that's good.
when I'm just cycling.
Wow. That is unbelievable.
And like I said, yeah, 1,500 miles a year, but doing that for since I was in my mid-20s, that's added up to almost 11,000 miles for my entire lifetime.
Wow,
Wow.
that's amazing.
That is
Yeah.
impressive. And I noticed you brought 2 beautiful gold medals, right?
Yes, ma'am.
These are gold. Can you talk a little bit about these medals?
So these are one of my many, many medals, but these specifically are from Summer Games this past year from the Special Olympics Maryland Summer Games at Taos University, where I competed in swimming in the 50-meter free, 100-meter free, 4 by 50-meter free relay, and 50-meter breaststroke.
Wow. Well, congratulations.
Mm.
So, as we were talking before the show, Jason had remarked we are at a table with royalty, basically, because you are also
Yep.
a gold medalist.
Yes, a Special Olympics,
That's
Maryland.
incredible.
Yep.
Can you talk about, Adam, for folks that may not have come to games before or have really, watched them or competed themselves, what does it feel like to be an athlete with Special Olympics?
Well, to me, it feels it's not just about coming to a one-day event throughout the year. It's we're training and we're competing against some of the best in our state, and really as you go higher around the nation and world, and we're and being an athlete for Special Olympics, it's really cool getting to go through meet others with intellectual disabilities in the sport world, but also in the in a lot of our other programs that we do, and getting to meet athletes and getting to show that my intellectual disability does not define me.
That's right.
That's
He's
right.
right.
He's And you share those same thoughts?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. He's right because I believe that word is just a word, a spelling out word. You can write it out or you can spell it out. I don't care. But if it doesn't really mean nothing. And they talking about it like it means something, like a disease. But really not. It's just a word.
It's just a word,
Right,
right?
right.
I totally hear you.
Absolutely.
And Jason, can you talk a little bit about what exactly, so you're in charge of the leadership piece, the athlete leadership. Can you talk a little bit more about that? Because I want to make sure our viewers understand that Special Olympics is a very large international organization, where you work, of course,
Right.
best male person ever.
Yes.
But also there are affiliates across the country. And so can you talk a little bit about that so that our audience can understand just the large and smaller pieces that make up Special Olympics?
Sure. Maybe I'll hit the leadership piece first and
Sure.
kind of how it goes up.
Thank you.
So athlete leadership, let me, I guess, phrase it in the best way is, as Special Olympics turned 50 years old last year, they came up with a kind of a quote. It was like the first 50 years were for Special Olympics athletes. The next 50 years should be by Special Olympics athletes. So the emphasis was on leadership. It's like, okay, enough people have been leading this movement, but the athletes have not been at the table. And we need to include more and more athletes and hear their voice and have them give us direction on where we want to go. And so the athlete leadership program was started many years ago, but in earnest, really, the last 3 or 4 years in Maryland is when we've been emphasizing athletes training to be on boards, training to be officials or coaches, learning to be global messengers, being members of the media, interacting with kind of society and journalists in a positive way, not having Jason speak for Adam, but having Adam's story be front and present. So that's the importance. And in Maryland, we really emphasize that. And so our program, we've trained over 500 athletes to be athlete leaders in one way or another. And they've had last year, over 3,000 experiences in the Maryland community, kind of sharing their skills. So that's really important to us. On a kind of more global scale, I work for Special Olympics Maryland, which is a program under Special Olympics North America. So North America is Canada, the US, and the Caribbean. And so we're one of 50, what is it, Terrell? One of 52 in the US, including DC and Puerto Rico.
US, yeah.
And then North America is part of a larger movement, which is Special Olympics International, where Terrell works. And that has over 172 countries.
Yeah,
so.
72.
We're going to hear all about Special Olympics Maryland and some pretty awesome events coming up after this short break.
Coming here and having a group like this where she just fits in perfectly, where we're accepted, we belong, we're the community.
It's just a chance for us to really coach these kids and challenge them, but at the same time motivate them, support them, and encourage them to be better soccer players.
My neighbor is actually one of the athletes who participates in this, and I was babysitting him and I was playing soccer with him, and his dad told me about this program and I was like, oh my gosh, that sounds amazing.
Watching this inspirational group of athletes smile and have fun and get to shine as individuals has just been wonderful. As a parent of one of the buddies, it's been a real pleasure to come out here and see this develop.
It's really changed her life. I mean, she's very happy, and she feels like she's a part of the team and very special.
And every single time I come, the athletes put a smile on my face.
Just being a coach, it's a blessing. You know what I mean? To help these kids and to be a part of their life.
The way you see the players interact with each other, interact with us, this is making a big difference in their life, and it's making a big difference in my life too.
Welcome back. We are learning all about Special Olympics Maryland. Today, joining us, we have the Vice President of Athlete Leadership, Jason Schrimmel, and we also have an athlete extraordinaire, 1,500 miles on a bike, Adam. So before the break, Jason was sharing with us how Special Olympics is one very large organization, and then underneath it are smaller subsets. So go ahead and continue, please.
So Special Olympics is a global movement over 4.6 million athletes around the world, 172 countries. But to bring it home, it trickles down into countries, and then for the U.S., it trickles down into states, And then for Maryland, it actually goes into counties. So there's a program in Montgomery County. Adam is from Frederick County. There's a program there, and they all are under the umbrella of Special Olympics Maryland. So you can get involved at many levels, but the most important level really is the local level, where you can have an impact with Terrel or Adam as a coach, as a volunteer, fundraising, so many opportunities. And Special Olympics really is a volunteer-driven organization, so it's critical.
That's incredible. Can you talk a little bit, Adam? I know that you are really interested in camera work. You've done some beautiful work on the Special Olympics website, which is somd.org. And can you talk a little bit about that?
Right. So when I was in school, I got interested in doing the video. I got interested in doing photography in my high school, and then it got my interest blew into the video side of things, and that's when I graduated from my high school. I learned that I really enjoyed it, and I went to my local community college, and I got my associate's degree in visual communications. Then that transferred into the whole. Now that I got that, I want to give back to Special Olympics for my talents, and now I work part-time with Special Olympics Maryland, creating Athlete of the Month videos featuring our athletes every month, or any of our in-house productions that we do. I get to use my knowledge and skills, and we go around to our events and just show people what Special Olympics and what our athletes can do.
And you have a hand in that.
Yes, ma'am.
That's wonderful. That's awesome.
If I was to brag on Adam just for a second,
Oh,
he not
absolutely.
only does all that he talks about, but he's actually started to teach some of the video courses to other athletes as well. So he's passing on that knowledge to the next group.
So you're really a role model in so many ways, Adam. You really are.
Congratulations.
I know. That's fantastic.
It's a lot of fun getting to show that I can do more than what some people may think, that if they don't realize that I can do more than they just see, and then they stick around my fellow athletes for a little longer, and then they're like, wait, our athletes are these people are amazing, and they have more skills to offer, not just for Special Olympics, but they can be contributing members of society.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want people to think, and I think people think that too, because people. I heard a lot about people talking about it like that, like my friend and all that. And it can get back to me on that because I heard I'm doing a special time, and my brother talked to me too, and then later on I think it will work out, because I did what I had to do and show people how I do life, and then they come back to me like, you talk to me like I'm a real person, like I am.
I know you're like a pretty cool real person. You know what I'm saying? So can you talk about, I know that you've got some awesome events. Special Olympics Maryland has a wonderful reputation for not just hosting a lot of events, but really getting people to support, not just financially, but just emotionally and physically. And can you talk a little bit about the events that you have coming up?
Sure, yeah. Maryland is such a generous community as a whole. I think every one of us should take kind of pride in what we do. And certainly they come out in droves for some of our events. Upcoming on November 2nd is an Over the Edge event where people will be rappelling 17 stories over the Bethesda Chevy Chase Land Management building. So
it's a high building.
Yes,
a high building,
yeah.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, we can. Adam did it last year.
This is my
and,
3rd year doing it.
Yeah, so,
Oh my goodness,
yeah.
Adam.
So it's quite the event. It's for thrill seekers, not for not a big sale for sure. So that's an important event. And then at the end of January, January 23rd through 25th, is our Polar Bear Plunge Week, where we have a school day where the high schools come out one day, and there's a police plunge and a corporate plunge on a Friday, and then the main plunge, which everyone talks about, which attracts between 7,000 and 10,000 people, where people come out to Sandy Point State Park and pay us for the privilege of going into Sandy Point State Park
In
at
January.
the end of January. But it's amazing. It's such an event. It's a way to break kind of the winter blahs up. To come down, there's food trucks and there's bands and it's just like you're part of one big weird community that everyone wants to go in the water, and like you're all the same at that point. And so it's a great event, and it raises about a third of our budget, and so we're not, for the most part, we're not government funded, so we raise most of our own money, and this plunge is a very critical part of that.
And so that sounds amazing. We're going to have to get that on the calendar, Terrell.
Yeah, we should.
And Adam, aren't you a certain type of plunger?
A super plunger.
Okay, can you let our audience know what is a super plunger?
So you're not only plunging in the cold water once, but you're plunging in the cold water 24 times in 24 hours.
Wow.
Whoa.
That's a lot of time.
That's a lot. Aren't you
real.
cold? That's a silly question.
I mean, once you get in probably the fourth or fifth time, you're like, this is nice, good old water, and it keeps you awake definitely by 2 a.m. in the morning, which we like to call the dark side of the moon, where there's nobody out there except us.
That sounds really incredible.
Yeah, that's good.
So it seems like, so very clearly, you are, Adam, a leader.
Yes, ma'am.
So can you talk to us a little bit about the Athlete Leadership Program and all the different programs within that? Because there's so, to us, and I know, Terrell and I have talked about this, how important leadership training is for everything.
So athlete leadership, we're not just all about the sports. We're about giving people with intellectual disabilities a chance to show that they can be productive members of society, and they have talents that can be shown, whether it's through speaking, through being on making decisions on boards, or even being behind or in front of the camera. I've been part of getting I've been part of helping to create an athlete-led media team called Maryland Media in Motion. I'm also the chairman of our Athlete Input Council, where we get opinions on our fellow athletes from all over the state. And we even learn how to fundraise for our fellow athletes. And we even get to carry the flame of hope, the torch that represents Special Olympics, all over our community and world. I've gotten the chance to go to Athens, Greece in 2011, where I got to help carry the flame. So for 3 weeks. So it was
around the Greek islands.
Around the Greek islands,
it was
yeah.
tough.
Every time he saw me, because he was over there, he was like, "Where have you been now?" But it was. I've gotten to do a lot of amazing things, and this isn't over yet. So, especially for our athletes, as Jason said, the first 50 years were for the athletes. Now it's time for us to lead the movement and show that that we can be great
Great people as well.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yep.
Well, you already are. You already
Yep.
are.
Yep.
So next year, is it 50 years for Maryland?
Yeah, so last year, 50 years for Special Olympics as a movement, and then Maryland was incorporated 2 years later, so next year is our 50th. So we're excited to be part of that and excited to be celebrating that starting shortly. I think probably at the beginning of the year we'll start our 50th celebrations and carry that throughout the year. So.
That's incredible.
That sounds
It is
great.
absolutely incredible. If you can, as we're getting ready to close the show today, if you could share with a family who is watching that maybe has a small child and hasn't really gotten to a space of figuring out their path yet, what would you say about Special Olympics Maryland to that family?
Well, I'd say give what we do a try. You'll see that there's a lot of other communities or a lot of other families with children that are younger that want to be a part of a community that everybody is accepted, and by coming into our organization, you'll not only be influencing your family members, but down the road, you'll be helping to show that hopefully in the next 50 years or beyond that maybe we won't need Special Olympics anymore. Maybe we'll just be a great community where everyone is accepted for who they are, and nothing can stand in their way.
Well, on that note,
Wow. Let's leave it like that.
yeah. Thank you so much for joining us. That's all the time we have. Thank you so much to Jason Schrimmel and to Adam, a cyclist, an athlete, an Eagle Scout, a role model, an amazing human, both of you. Thank you so much for being here. And
Thank
like
you so
Terrell and I always say, no matter where you are in your life,
Just keep moving forward.
see you next
See you
time.
next time. Cheers.
Thank you.